Hello, everyone. Tonight we are standing at the edge of a forgotten clearing where the ground is cracked like old pottery, and the wind sounds like it's whispering secrets in a language no one remembers. The air is so cold it stings your teeth, and your breath drifts out in little clouds that look like ghosts trying to escape. Beneath your feet, the soil is hard as bone, and you crouch low, peering between the tangled roots of a fallen cycad. In front of you lies what looks like a ring of stones at first glance. But as your eyes adjust, you realize no, this isn't stone. It's a nest. A circle of packed earth and brittle plant matter, and in the center a clutch of eggs pale as the winter moon. Their smooth surfaces glisten faintly with frost. Whatever mother laid them is nowhere to be seen, and the night air is merciless. You probably won't survive. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you really like what I do here. Also, post your location and local time. I want to see who else is out here wandering these ruins with me. Now turn off the lights, maybe turn on the fan for some soothing noise, and let's get started tonight. The cold presses down on you as you shuffle closer, the ground crunching under your hands. The nest is larger than it seemed at first. Each egg is roughly the size of a rugby ball, though I wouldn't recommend kicking one unless you're in a hurry to meet an angry mother. The frost clinging to the shells makes them look like they've been forgotten, as if whatever laid them gave up and moved on. But you know better. You've heard the elders talk of the feathered giants that once ruled these lands, not just scales and teeth, but creatures draped in thick down, as if evolution tried to knit them sweaters against nights like this. The eggs are arranged carefully, not in a messy heap, but in a near-perfect ring. It reminds you of the way modern birds build nests, which isn't surprising since feathered dinosaurs were in a sense the ancestors of today's birds. Historians still debate whether this particular species was more bird or lizard, but standing here in the freezing dark, that academic distinction doesn't help much. What you know is simple. Without warmth, these eggs won't last until dawn. Your fingers brush the edge of the nest and it's colder than regret. The ring of plant material is woven tight, but time and the wind have begun to unravel it. A fragment of fern stem snaps beneath your touch. You think of modern birds again, how some species line their nest with feathers, fur, or even stolen bits of fabric. Did these ancient mothers do the same? Maybe. After all, evidence from fossilized nests suggests that some feathered dinosaurs like oviraptorosaurs were downright fussy about how they prepared their nests. Archaeologists once uncovered a nest so perfectly circular it could have doubled as primitive art. A gust of wind makes you shiver, and the joke about needing a sweater feels less funny. There's no sign of the mother, just silence broken only by the creak of trees and the whisper of dry grasses. Somewhere in the distance, a night predator calls out a sound like a cough mixed with a growl, and you freeze, hoping it's too far to care about you. The eggs, though they're vulnerable, you crouch lower, scanning the shadows. Every part of you screams to back away, to leave this place to the cold and the night. But curiosity wins. It always does, doesn't it? You trace a finger over one of the eggs. The frost crackles under your touch, and you imagine the life curled inside, still and silent, waiting for warmth that may never come. An odd fact floats into your mind. Did you know that crocodile eggs can change sex depending on the temperature at which they incubate? It's true. Maybe these dinosaur eggs had similar quirks. Maybe this entire clutch could hatch into all females or all males depending on the night's chill. Historians still debate whether feathered dinosaurs had such temperature-dependent sex determination, but it's one of those mysteries that keeps paleontologists up at night. You settle onto your haunches, your breath fogging the air, watching the frost slowly creep further over the shells. The clearing feels ancient, like the world's held its breath. And you, the lone observer, are left wondering, where is the mother? Why leave the nest on a night like this, and will she return before it's too late? The first sign of her return is the hush that falls over the clearing, a deeper quiet that makes your skin prickle. You feel it, Before you see her, the way the air seems to pull back as if the night itself is making space. Then between two leaning saccades, you spot movement. A ripple of shadow, a shape too large to be windblown brush. She steps into the pale moonlight, and for a moment you forget to breathe. She is magnificent. Tall enough that the curve of her back blocks the stars draped in a coat of feathers that catch the moonlight like frost on fur. Her eyes glow faintly wide and wary, scanning the clearing for threats. You press yourself deeper into the roots of your hiding place, heart hammering like a drum. Up close, she's even more bird-like than you expected. The way she moves each step, deliberate toes spreading wide to grip the frozen ground, is the careful dance of a mother with everything to lose. You might be tempted to call her an overgrown chicken, but let's not insult her. This is an oviraptorosaur, or something very much like it. A creature that millions of years ago combined the grace of a bird with the attitude of a small tyrant. Historians still debate whether she'd peck your eyes out like a goose or simply stomp you flat like a cassowary. Either way, you stay very still. She pauses at the edge of the nest, her head tilting, listening. Maybe she senses you, maybe not. But her priority is clear the eggs. Slowly, carefully, she steps into the circle, her clawed hands raised slightly like she's balancing an invisible load. The feathers on her arms are longer here, forming what looks suspiciously like proto-wings. She settles herself over the clutch, the downy plumage of her belly spreading to cover the eggs. You can almost feel the warmth radiate as she lowers her body onto the nest. It's an illusion, of course, you're still freezing, but the sight is comforting all the same. Her feathers puff out further, trapping air, forming a barrier against the night's cruel bite. Modern birds do this too. A simple, ancient trick of insulation that predates your warm winter jacket by tens of millions of years. One of her eyes flashes toward the trees as a branch snaps in the distance. She lets out a low hiss deep in her throat, and you suddenly remember that joke about her being an overgrown chicken. Yeah, no. That sound has more in common with a snake than any barnyard fowl. Her breathing slows deep and steady, and you watch as tiny plumes of condensation rise and vanish in the moonlight. There's something oddly human about the moment, the fierce tenderness, the quiet determination. You think of parents today up at all hours with newborns doing whatever it takes to keep their little ones safe. And speaking of odd facts, did you know some penguin species can recognize the calls of their chicks in a crowd of thousands? It's true. Makes you wonder if she could pick out her hatchling's cries amid the chaos of a Cretaceous forest. Historians still debate whether feathered dinosaurs had that level of vocal recognition, but you can almost imagine it, the soft chirps, the answering coo of a mother. The night deepens and you feel the cold seep into your bones. But she stays immovable, her plumage rising and falling with each breath. Around the edges of her feathers, frost begins to form, but still she holds her position. You marvel at her strength. No fire, no shelter, just instinct, anatomy, and an unbreakable will to protect. And then, as if the night can't resist a little drama, a gust of wind sweeps through the clearing, rattling the trees and sending dry leaves skittering across the ground. The mother lifts her head, feathers rippling, and scans the dark. Her gaze seems to pass right over you, and for a heartbeat you wonder if she sees you. But no, she settles again, tighter this time, her body a fortress of warmth and vigilance. You shift slightly, trying to ease the ache in your legs. The ground beneath you is as cold as the eggs once were. But you don't move far. Not yet. You want to see how this plays out. You want to see if she can hold the cold at bay until dawn. The hours drag on, but she does not falter. You stay tucked beneath the roots, watching as the mother becomes a living shield, a blanket of feathers against the cold night. The moon slips lower, casting long shadows that stretch across the clearing like dark rivers. The frost thickens on her outer feathers, giving her the look of a statue carved from ice and ash. But beneath that frozen armor, she breathes steady, slow, deliberate. You inch closer, curiosity gnawing at caution's edge. The nest is now almost entirely hidden beneath her body. It's remarkable, really, how she's arranged herself, wings spread just enough to create a dome belly, feathers fluffed downwards to touch the tops of the eggs. She's made a circle of warmth in a world that's anything but warm. This posture isn't random. Fossil evidence. Yes, actual fossilized remains of brooding feathered dinosaurs shows the same thing. Their arms, outstretched legs, tucked bodies, covering their clutches as if time itself froze them, mid-care. It's one of those rare moments where ancient bones tell a story loud enough for modern ears. Historians still debate whether this posture evolved first for warmth or for defense. But standing here watching her shield her future from the cold, it's hard not to vote for warmth. A joke bubbles up in your mind. You could market her as a prehistoric space heater. Efficient, silent, self-powered. But you keep that to yourself. The night's too still, too sacred for loud thoughts. The clearing seems smaller now, drawn tight around the nest and its guardian. You hear the soft rustle of her feathers shifting, adjusting minutely as the cold creeps higher. The air is so clear, you can hear the tiny crackle of frost forming on distant branches. And closer, so much closer, you hear the faint sound of her breathing. In, out, and out. A rhythm older than any song. Suddenly, she lifts her head, alert. You freeze. Did you make a noise? Did your breath betray you? No, the danger isn't you. From beyond the trees comes a low chuffing sound, the kind of noise that makes the hairs on your neck stand up. Another predator is near. She doesn't move from the eggs. Instead, she fluffs up even more, wings arched slightly, creating an even larger barrier. The feathers shimmer faintly with frost, but they hold. The warmth inside the circle she's made must be precious, worth the risk of staying exposed. You can feel the tension ripple through the clearing like a silent storm. And here's a fun fact to distract your brain from panic. Some modern birds, like penguins, can huddle in giant groups to conserve warmth, trading places so everyone gets a turn in the middle. This mother has no flock, but her determination serves the same purpose. Historians still debate whether feathered dinosaurs ever tried communal brooding like that. Maybe somewhere some ancient cousin did. But not here, not tonight. The chuffing fades. Whatever predator was testing the edges of the clearing has thought better of it. Or maybe the sight of her still vast resolute was enough of a warning. The mother lowers her head again, pressing her body closer to the nest. The eggs hidden beneath her plumage are safe for now. Your legs are numb, your fingers ache, but you can't look away. There's something deeply humbling about watching this ancient act of care. No fire. No tools. No shelter of stone or wood. Just feather and flesh and will. The moon dips lower still, and the first hint of dawn, just a smear of pale light on the horizon, begins to push back the dark. The mother stirs, sensing the change. Her feathers ripple slightly, shedding tiny crystals of frost that catch the faint glow like stars breaking loose. The night's not done yet, but the worst of the cold is fading. The circle of warmth she made has held. And you're still here, still watching, still wondering what it would take to match that kind of devotion. The dawn's edge is just beginning to blush when the first sign of new danger creeps into view. You notice it before she does a flicker of shadow at the tree line, moving low, moving slow. Your breath catches and you sink further into the root's heart, hammering so loud, you're sure it's echoing through the clearing. A rival. It steps into the clearing and your stomach knots. It's smaller than the mother, but faster, built for stealth. A dromaeosaurid, perhaps one of those feathered terrors with curved claws made for slicing. Its eyes are sharp, its feathers ragged along one side, and its tail flicks in irritation as it assesses the scene. You can almost hear its thoughts, a tired mother, a vulnerable clutch. Breakfast served chilled. The mother senses it now. Her head snaps up, feathers bristling like a storm cloud about to break. She hisses low, the sound curling through the air like smoke. The rival hesitates. It knows the cost of a bad decision. You grip the roots tighter, pulse roaring in your ears. There's no easy escape for her. If she abandons the nest, the eggs are doomed. If she stays, she has to defend and brood all at once. You remember something you read once: modern birds like lapwings will feign injury to lure predators away from their nests. Did these ancient mothers have such tricks? Historians still debate whether feathered dinosaurs employed distraction displays, but standing here watching her stand her ground, you doubt she'd ever run. The rival circles closer, tail swaying, head low. The tension is so thick you could bottle it and sell it as an energy drink. The mother doesn't move from the nest. Instead, she spreads her wings wider, feathers flared to make herself look larger. The frost on her outer plumage catches the dawn's first light, making her glow faintly like some mythical beast drawn in charcoal and fire. A joke flashes through your mind. You'd pay good money to see her on a hockey team. Her stance is pure goalie, nothing's getting past. The rival pauses, assessing. It takes one more step closer, then two. The mother lets out a sharp bark of sound, half scream, half growl, and lunges forward, just enough to snap her beak at empty air. That's enough. The rival flinches, rethinks its life choices, and backs away into the trees, melting into the undergrowth like a bad dream. Silence returns, heavy and profound. You let out the breath you've been holding, your fingers numb where they grip the roots. The mother doesn't relax. She watches the tree line for long minutes, waiting, listening. Only when she's satisfied does she settle again, tucking her feathers close around the eggs. And here's an odd fact to lighten the mood. Did you know that some modern birds will build fake nests to confuse predators? Entire decoy homes complete with empty eggs. Historians still debate whether feathered dinosaurs had the brain power or social complexity for such advanced tactics, but you can't help but imagine this mother orchestrating a little real estate scam to keep her clutch safe. The clearing feels different now, like the night itself has admitted defeat. The rival is gone. The frost is beginning to soften. And the mother, fierce and unyielding, remains the queen of this small patch of earth. As the pale dawn light strengthens, you ease your cramped limbs, shifting just enough to relieve the ache without giving yourself away. The clearing is quiet again, but it hums with the weight of what just happened. The mother rests over her eggs, feathers settling, but you can see that she remains alert, head up, eyes scanning, always listening. She knows, as you do now, that warmth alone won't save the clutch. This nest must also defend. And what a nest it is. Now that the light is clearer, you can truly see its structure. The ring of mud and plant stems is no accident. It forms a raised edge, a low wall that encircles the eggs like the rim of a bowl. Bits of moss cling here and there, and shards of bark are woven through, creating a surprisingly sturdy barrier. You spot strands of what might once have been soft fern fronds, now shriveled with the cold but still offering a trace of padding. It's easy to miss how much engineering went into this simple-looking construction. But if you've ever seen a modern ground-nesting bird's work, a plover or a killdeer, say, you'll recognize the method. A shallow depression lined with whatever's on-handed, just enough to keep the eggs from rolling or flooding. Fossilized nests found in places like Mongolia show that feathered dinosaurs often built their nests in sandy or muddy ground, sometimes adding plant matter, sometimes shaping them into neat circles. Historians still debate whether these nests were communal projects or the work of lone mothers, but either way, the craftsmanship is undeniable. You inch a little closer, breath held. The mother doesn't seem to notice, or maybe she does, but sees no threat. You can see the texture of the mud wall, now cracked and crazed by the night's frost, but holding firm. The eggs sit slightly sunken in the center, protected not just by her body, but by the nest's clever design. Here's something strange to chew on while you crouch in the cold. Some species of megapodes. Modern birds from Australia build giant compost heaps as nests, letting the rotting vegetation provide heat to incubate their eggs. Imagine if these feathered dinosaurs had tried something similar. A massive pile of steaming leaves and mud, an ancient incubator powered by decay. Historians still debate whether any dinosaurs mastered this trick, but no evidence has yet turned up to say so. You reach out, tracing the shape of the nest with your gaze, not your fingers. The dawn breeze brings the faintest scent of wet earth, and the mud's dark color tells you it was mixed with more than just water. Maybe saliva, maybe sap, something sticky enough to help it hold. That low wall does more than cradle the eggs. It helps keep the warmth in, keeps shallow floodwater out, and discourages small scavengers who might think to steal a meal. The mother shifts, slightly fluffing her feathers and letting out a soft sound. Not a warning, not a challenge, just a murmur like she's reassuring herself that all is well. The clearing is bathed in pale gold now, and the frost begins to melt, glistening on the mud and on her plumage like 1,000 tiny jewels. And you're starting to feel that frost melt too, though your fingers are still stiff and your toes numb. But you stay watching because this simple, perfect structure holds a story older than language. It speaks of care, of instinct, of survival, stitched into every feather and claw. Your knees protest as you shift again, the cold earth having long since seeped into your bones. But the clearing holds you captive. The mother remains still, her body a dome of feathers encasing the precious life beneath. The wind stirs, lifting the outermost plumes, and for the briefest moment you glimpse what lies beneath, not just the eggs, but something more, the secret of how she keeps them warm. Her belly is bare in a patches, or so it seems. The downy feathers thin along a line of skin pressed close to the eggs, and the skin itself is pocked with tiny, nearly invisible pores. You blink, leaning forward instinctively, and then you see it, a faint shimmer of moisture around those pores, like the surface of a warm stone on a winter morning. It clicks in your mind, a brood patch. Modern birds have them areas where feathers thin out and the skin becomes richly supplied with blood vessels, allowing direct transfer of body heat to the eggs. And now you've seen its ancient ancestor at work. Historians still debate whether all feathered dinosaurs had brood patches or if this was a trait of specific groups, but the evidence before you is hard to ignore. The mother shifts, tucking her legs tighter, adjusting the eggs beneath her with a careful nudge of her hip. The motion is so practiced, so precise, that it almost looks choreographed. You feel like you're intruding on something sacred. You can't help but whisper to yourself, she's like a living furnace. The thought makes you grin despite the cold. Forget fire. Forget technology. She carries the warmth of generations in her blood and her bones. The wind gusts again, sharper this time, rattling the trees and sending a scatter of dry leaves across the clearing. The mother tightens her posture, feathers pressed firm, sealing in the precious heat. You marvel at the efficiency. Here she is, an animal with no tools, no shelter, no fire. And yet, she's engineered the perfect solution for survival. An odd fact drifts through your mind, unbidden but welcome. Some species of modern ducks, like the eider, pluck their own down to line their nests, creating a soft, insulating blanket for their eggs. Did this mother ever do the same? You scan her plumage, noting the density, the subtle layering that traps air. Historians still debate whether feathered dinosaurs plucked or shed their own feathers for nesting material, or if they relied solely on what nature provided. You notice now how the nest's construction works with her body. The raised ring forms a pocket and her belly sinks slightly into it, ensuring maximum contact between the brood patch and the eggs. Every part of this design, the nest, the posture, the feathers, is part of an ancient blueprint, tested and perfected by time. The clearing is brighter now, the frost beginning to retreat. Tiny beads of moisture form on the mother's outer feathers where the cold meets the warmth she holds inside. She shivers once, a ripple that starts at her neck and runs to the tip of her tail, shaking loose a flurry of melting ice crystals. They fall like miniature stars catching the light as they tumble to the ground. And you stay hidden humbled. The longer you watch, the more you realize you're witnessing a kind of mastery that no human invention has ever truly matched. No machine, no heater, no crafted shelter is as elegantly simple or as fiercely devoted as this ancient mother's design. The morning deepens, but the cold clings on, as if the night refuses to loosen its grip entirely. You draw your arms tighter against your body, watching as the wind picks up once more. It sweeps through the clearing in sharp, biting gusts that bend the taller ferns and stir the leaf litter. The trees groan softly, branches scraping against one another like ancient bones. And at the center of it all, the mother holds fast. Her feathers ripple and lift in the wind, revealing for a breath the layered down beneath, so fine, so dense that it seems to drink in the chill rather than let it pass. You see how the outer contour feathers form a protective shell, while the inner layers trap air, creating insulation. No coat you've ever worn could hope to match. It's as if she wears a living fortress against the storm. She lowers her head briefly, tucking her beak under a wing in a moment of rest, but even then the tension in her body hums beneath the stillness. Every nerve, every muscle stays attuned to the nest, to the eggs, to the invisible threats the wind might carry. A stronger gust rattles through, making you shiver in sympathy. But the mother, she remains unmoved. A fact surfaces in your mind, one you heard long ago while watching a nature documentary. Emperor penguins endure blizzards, with winds up to 200 kilometers per hour huddling for warmth. Their eggs balanced on their feet beneath layers of fat and feather. And here before you is the ancient blueprint for that strategy written in plume and bone. Historians still debate whether feathered dinosaurs ever faced true Ice Age conditions or if their challenges came from more local freezes. But looking at this mother, you think it hardly matters. Cold is cold. Survival is survival. The clearing feels sharper now, the air slicing at your skin, as if jealous of the warmth she protects. You shift your weight trying to find a position where your toes don't feel like brittle twigs. But you can't take your eyes off her. The way she endures, the way she resists, the way she transforms herself into a barrier between life and death, it's mesmerizing. And here's an odd little tidbit to distract you while you huddle there like a forgotten statue. Did you know some parrots in the Amazon use clay to detoxify the seeds they eat? They've figured out somehow that certain clays bind to plant toxins, letting them feast on otherwise dangerous meals. You wonder idly if any ancient feathered cousin ever figured out a similar trick, some clever survival hack lost to time. Historians still debate just how clever these creatures were beyond their instincts, but tonight instinct looks pretty smart. The wind calms at last, as if realizing it can't best her. The clearing settles into a tense peace. The mother lifts her head again, scanning, then slowly, carefully adjusts her position. She shifts her wings, fluffing the feathers back into place, ensuring no gap lets the warmth escape. The frost on the outermost plumes begins to melt, dripping in tiny rivulets down the mud walls of the nest. And you stay frozen in more ways than one, grateful to witness this small, fierce victory against the elements. The world begins to change as the sun finally crests the horizon, casting the clearing in soft gold. The frost that clung so stubbornly to the nest and the mother's feathers starts to glisten, then drip, then vanish entirely, leaving behind dark, damp earth and the sheen of wet plumage. You let out a breath you didn't realize you'd been holding, watching as the first real warmth of the day pushes back the last remnants of night's grip. The mother stirs, lifting her head and shaking it slightly, scattering droplets like tiny jewels into the air. Her eyes catch the light, sharp and alert as ever, but her body relaxes just a little. The worst has passed. The eggs beneath her are safe for now. And what a sight the clearing is in this dawn light. The frost-covered feathers glisten as if dusted with silver. The nest, once a ring of dull mud and plant debris, now glows with moisture, each thread of moss and shred of bark vivid in the sun's embrace. Even the air smells different, less of cold and more of damp earth and waking greenery. You inch forward, careful not to betray your presence, unable to resist a closer look at the transformation. The mother adjusts herself again ever so slightly, ensuring the eggs remain fully shielded. You spot the tips of two eggs peeking from beneath the edge of her plumage, their surfaces no longer dull with frost but slick with condensation. The contrast is striking. Just hours ago, they seemed like lifeless stones. Now they look like promises, fragile but alive. Historians still debate how much the dawn sun contributed to incubating eggs in the age of dinosaurs, especially in species that nested in open sites like this. Some argue that body heat was primary. Others believe environmental warmth played a crucial supporting role. Watching this mother, it's easy to believe both. She and the rising sun work together, partners in a ritual as old as time itself. You can't help but think of modern reptiles like sea turtles that rely entirely on the warmth of sun-baked sand to incubate their clutches. These feathered ancestors, though, went a step further, becoming their own suns. The thought makes you smile despite the chill lingering in your limbs. And speaking of odd facts, did you know that some crocodilian mothers have been seen gently rolling their eggs to ensure even incubation? The care might surprise people who think of crocodiles as nothing but toothy menace. You wonder if beneath that feathery armor, this ancient mother occasionally shifts her eggs too subtly, adjusting their position for optimal warmth. The clearing is almost peaceful now. The storm of night has passed. The rival is gone. The mother remains a sentinel of softness and strength. Around her, the frost recedes. The plants lift their heads and the day begins in earnest. And you stay unmoving, entranced by the quiet miracle of survival playing out in this forgotten patch of earth. You shuffle forward just a little more, drawn by the pull of the scene, the warmth, the light, the mother's unwavering devotion. But as the clearing brightens, something else catches your eye, something that pulls your gut into a knot. Off to the left, half hidden beneath a tumble of dead ferns, lies another nest. Smaller, quieter, and heartbreakingly still. At first you think it might be abandoned, a relic of a past season. But then you see the eggs pale and cracked, not with the promise of hatching, but with the finality of failure. Frost still clings to their broken surfaces, and there is no mother here to shield them, no feathers to ward off the cold. The nest looks as if it had been tended once, the same careful ring of mud and plant matter, the same attention to form. But now it's nothing more than a graveyard of potential. Your breath fogs in the air as you stare, and you feel the cold anew, not just the chill of the morning, but the deeper cold of loss. The mother of that nest is gone, maybe taken by a predator, maybe fallen to some unseen peril. Historians still debate how often such losses occurred, how fragile these ancient families truly were in the brutal ecosystems of their time. But standing here, it's impossible to ignore the truth: not every nest survived the night. The sight sobers you, makes the triumph of the nearby mother all the more stark. Her victory feels fragile, hard-won, a defiance of odds that could so easily have tipped the other way. The air around the failed nest is heavy, as if the clearing itself mourns. An odd fact surfaces in your mind, unbidden but poignant. In some bird species today, siblings in the same nest will compete fiercely, sometimes fatally, for parental attention and resources. You wonder if in some other time, under some other mother, these eggs might have faced such a struggle had they lived long enough to hatch. The mother at the center of the clearing shifts again, as if sensing the weight of your thoughts, or perhaps the weight of her own luck. She draws her feathers tighter, head high, gaze sweeping the clearing to where the lost nest lies. Does she remember the one who built it? Does she know what became of her neighbor? Historians still debate how much empathy or awareness feathered dinosaurs had for one another's plight. But as you watch, you imagine she feels something, perhaps only a flicker, a whisper of what was lost. You stay there silent, letting the morning wash over you. The contrast between the two nests, the living and the lifeless, burns itself into your memory. The fragile line between survival and failure has never felt clearer. The sun climbs higher, its light creeping further into the clearing, illuminating details you hadn't noticed before. Just beyond the mother's nest, to the right of the failed one, you spot something curious. Another cluster of eggs, this time with not one but two adults nearby. You blink, rubbing at your cold, blurred eyes, but the scene stays the same. Two feathered figures, both smaller than the vigilant mother you've been watching, stand close together, their plumage overlapping as they fuss over a shared nest. You shift in your hiding place, heart quickening. This is unexpected. Modern birds rarely share a nest like this outside of a few odd species, and yet here they are side by side tending to what appears to be a single clutch. One adjusts a bit of plant matter, tucking it closer around the eggs. The other lowers its body carefully as if testing the fit. They seem in sync, their movements coordinated, practiced. Historians still debate whether communal nesting ever occurred among feathered dinosaurs. The fossil record is silent on the matter, offering hints but no proof. Some point to fossilized nest sites with overlapping egg layers as evidence. Others argue those were just reused sites or accidents of preservation. But standing here watching these two creatures tend their shared treasure, it's hard not to believe in cooperation. You edge closer, heart pounding. The pair doesn't notice you. They're too focused on their task. You can see how they take turns, one keeping watch head high and eyes bright, while the other shifts position, settling onto the egg's fluffing feathers to create a seamless blanket of warmth. It's mesmerizing, this quiet teamwork. And it raises more questions than answers. Are they mates? Siblings, two mothers joined by circumstance. You'll never know. But the sight stays with you, challenging what you thought you understood about these ancient creatures. And here's a strange fact to chew on. While you watch in the modern world, certain species of ostriches form what's called a major nest, where several females lay their eggs, but only the dominant hen incubates them. Could something similar be happening here? Maybe one of these two is the true caretaker and the other just a hopeful helper. Or maybe they're equals in this ancient contract of survival. Historians still debate the social structures of feathered dinosaurs, and looking at this pair, so do you. The clearing feels different now, less like a place of solitary struggle, more like a community stitched together by instinct and necessity. The mother you've been watching shifts again, casting a glance toward the pair, as if acknowledging them. The failed nest lies quiet between them all, a silent reminder of what's at stake. And you. You crouch lower, unwilling to break the spell of this moment, grateful to witness a scene few could have imagined, a glimpse of shared purpose in a world so often remembered only for its tooth and claw. The clearing seems almost peaceful in the mid-morning light, but you know better. You know the quiet can be deceptive. And sure enough, as the breeze shifts and carries new scents across the clearing, the peace begins to unravel. Your ears catch at first a faint rustle at the edge of the ferns, a sound too deliberate to be wind alone. You hold your breath, eyes sweeping the undergrowth, and then you see them, small figures, quick and low, weaving between shadows. Predators, but not the kind that roar and crash through the trees. These are smaller, cleverer. Scavengers. Maybe ancient mammals, furred and nimble, their eyes glinting with hunger. Or perhaps tiny feathered raptors, opportunists with sharp little claws and sharper wits. They work the edges of the clearing like pickpockets in a crowded market, testing the boundaries, searching for a moment of weakness. The mother at the center nest spots them too. She stiffens, feathers flaring, and lets out a soft, warning hiss. The pair at the communal nest does the same, one standing tall, the other sheltering the eggs. The scavengers pause, calculating their movements, almost theatrical in their caution. You can feel the tension snap tight, the whole clearing holding its breath. Historians still debate how often small predators and scavengers succeeded in raiding nests like these. Fossilized nests sometimes show bite marks on eggs or teeth fragments embedded where they didn't belong, but the full picture is murky. What's clear as you watch is that these mothers, these guardians, are ready to fight. And here's a peculiar fact to lighten the mood. Some modern birds like lapwings will fake a broken wing to draw predators away from their nests, limping pathetically until the threat is far enough off then springing back to full strength. You half wonder if these ancient mothers might have tried the same trick. But no one moves from the nests. The risk is too high, the stakes too dear. The scavengers edge closer, drawn by the scent of warmth of life. One creeps so near that you can see the detail of its coat, ragged, mud-caked, desperate. The mother lunges forward suddenly, snapping her beak feathers bristling like a storm about to break. The scavenger bolts, startled, vanishing into the brush. The others retreat to their gamble lost. And then, as quickly as the danger appeared, it passes. The mothers settle feathers, smoothing the clearing, breathing again. The nests remain intact, the eggs unbroken. But the lesson lingers here in this ancient world. There is no peace without vigilance. You exhale slowly, heart still racing, and marvel at the balance these creatures strike: warmth and watchfulness, care and courage. The clearing may seem quiet, but survival hums beneath its surface, as constant as the heartbeat of the earth. The day, for all its promise of warmth, darkens too soon. You glance upward and see the sky shifting, the blue swallowed by heavy, bruised clouds that boil on the horizon. The breeze that once carried birdsong now brings only the smell of rain and the distant rumble of thunder. You know that sound is not the growl of some ancient predator, but it stirs the same unease in your chest. A storm is coming. Izzy. The mothers sense it too. The one at the central nest lifts her head, nostrils flaring as she tests the air. The pair at the communal nest exchange glances. If such creatures can be said to share looks of worry, these two manage it. The clearing moments ago, alive with light and motion, grows tense and still, as if the very ground is bracing for what's to come. And what comes is swift. The wind rises first, tearing through the ferns, flattening the grasses. Then the first drops fall fat cold, splattering against leaves. Mud feathers. You huddle deeper beneath the roots, trying to stay dry, but your shelter is no match for the downpour that follows. The rain comes in sheets, drumming against the earth, turning dust to slick mud, turning nests to vulnerable islands in a rising sea. The mother at the center of it all doesn't flee. No. She rises briefly, using her beak and claws to gather debris, twigs, leaves, even clumps of sodden moss, and piles them along the rim of her nest. She works with frantic precision, reinforcing the low mud wall, patching gaps, building her barricade against the storm. The pair at the communal nest do the same, their teamwork now a matter of desperate necessity. You marvel at the speed, the instinct. Modern birds, like some shorebirds, will shore up their nests ahead of storms using pebbles or sticks to raise the walls. Historians still debate whether these feathered dinosaurs had the foresight to prepare, or whether they simply reacted to the moment. But watching these mothers work, you're convinced there's a kind of wisdom here, if not of thought, then of deep inherited memory. The rain pounds harder, washing mud from the clearing in rivulets, but the nests hold. The mothers settle again, wings spread wide, shielding their clutches from the worst of the deluge. Water pools around them, but the raised rims keep it at bay, at least for now. The storm tries its best, but warmth wins this round. And here's an odd fact to distract you from the cold trickling down your spine. Some species of modern birds will cover their eggs with debris when leaving the nest, camouflaging them against predators. You wonder if these ancient mothers caught in the storm might have stumbled upon that trick too by accident or design. Historians still debate it. You sit there soaked through watching the storm, and the mothers fight their silent battle. And somehow, despite the roar of the rain and the crack of thunder, the clearing feels sacred, proof that life in any age finds a way to endure. The storm does not last forever. They never do. Eventually, the rain softens. The thunder rolls further off, and the dark clouds begin to break apart, surrendering the sky to streaks of pale blue. The clearing lies drenched in battered, muddy rivulets carve new paths through the undergrowth, and the nests stand like islands above the watery chaos. And through it all, the mothers remain soaked but unbroken, their feathers heavy with water, their eyes sharp with exhaustion and triumph. You shift your weight, your clothes plaster to your skin, the chill settling deep. But something changes the air. A sound, a soft, uncertain tapping, pulls your attention to the central nest. The mother there lifts her head, tilting one ear hole toward the source. You see it, then unmistakable despite the mud and water. A tiny crack splinters the shell of the nearest egg. You blink the rain from your lashes, hardly daring to believe it. Another crack follows, a tiny flake of shell breaking free and tumbling down the curve of the egg. The mother leans down, uttering a soft, low croon that hums through the clearing like a secret only the two of them share. Historians still debate whether feathered dinosaurs assisted in hatching the way some modern birds do, gently chipping at shells or turning eggs at the critical moment. But watching this, you sense the answer might be yes. The mother doesn't intervene directly, but she stays close, encouraging, guarding. The egg gives way further. A damp, trembling beak pushes through the opening, followed by the faintest flicker of movement. A tiny claw, dark with moisture, gripping the edge of its first world. The mother stays still, her breath slow, steady, warming the air around the hatchling as it fights its way free. And it isn't alone. At the communal nest, you spot another crack, forming another promise of new life. The pair of caretakers hover together, their bodies curved protectively around their clutch, their feathers glistening with the last drops of storm water. An odd fact pops into your mind, something to hold on to amid the wonder. In some species of modern geese, the entire flock will hiss at predators when chicks are born, creating a wall of sound and fury. You wonder what sound these ancient mothers might have made had the storm not scared off every potential threat. Historians still debate the vocal range of feathered dinosaurs. But in this moment, you can almost hear the fierce joy of survival in the air. The hatchling in the central nest breaks free at last, collapsing against the shell fragments, wet and unsteady but alive. The mother leans down, touches it gently with the tip of her beak and breathes over it, as if sharing the last warmth of the storm's passing. And you? You sit in silent awe, watching life emerge from mud and misery, from cold and storm. The clearing feels brighter, cleaner, as if the storm was never meant to end anything but to wash the world clean for this small, fragile miracle. The clearing, so recently a battlefield of storm and survival, is now a cradle of fragile beginnings. The hatchling in the central nest shivers its damp fluff, clinging to paper-thin skin eyes, not yet ready to open to this vast wet world. The mother keeps her head low, breathing over it, sheltering it from the lingering breeze. You can almost feel the heat radiating from her brood patch, see the steam rise as warmth meets cold. But then from the edge of the clearing comes another presence. At first you think it's another scavenger, another threat come to steal what has just begun. But no, the figure is different. Taller than the small predators you saw before. Slighter than the mother, but built like her, draped in feathers darkened by the rain. At least you think it might be He approaches with slow, deliberate steps. The mother doesn't drive him off. Instead, she watches, wary but unafraid. He stops at a respectful distance, head tilted as if to take in the scene. The cracked shells, the trembling chick, the storm-wrecked nest. And then, he does something you did not expect. He settles beside the nest's edge, feathers fluffed, body low, as if offering himself to the task of keeping the warmth and the danger out. Historians still debate whether male feathered dinosaurs played an active role in brooding and guarding the nest. Some point to fossil sites where adult males have been found in close association with clutches of eggs. Others argue that those were isolated incidents, not evidence of true parental care. But standing here, soaked and silent, watching this figure join the mother at the nest, you can't help but wonder. Maybe partnership in parenthood is older than we think. You inch forward just enough to see his feathers ripple as he settles his body, aligning with hers to create a tighter, more complete shield over the chick. The hatchling stirs, comforted by this new wall of softness, and lets out the faintest chirp, a sound so small it's nearly lost in the wet hush of the clearing. An odd fact drifts through your thoughts, unexpected but fitting. Did you know that in some modern species like the emu, it's the male who takes on the full responsibility of brooding the eggs and raising the chicks? He'll sit for weeks without eating, drinking, or leaving the nest. Maybe, just maybe, you're seeing the ghost of that ancient duty here. The pair remains still, the nest now a fortress of two. The communal mothers nearby glance over, acknowledging the addition with a quiet murmur, then return their focus to their own clutch where more shells begin to crack. The clearing hums with the promise of new life, the danger of the night, and the storm held at bay by feather and bone, by instinct, and perhaps by a bond deeper than you imagined. And you stay frozen, unwilling to break the spell, as the ancient world shows you that even here where tooth and claw so often rule, there is room for partnership, for protection, for a shared purpose older than memory. The day stretches long and golden. Now the storm's fury only a memory carried in puddles and the glisten of wet leaves. The clearing, once a place of frost and peril, has transformed into a nursery of new life. You watch as more shells crack, more tiny beaks and trembling claws emerge into a world that feels for the first time warm and full of promise. The mother at the central nest keeps her vigil, feathers fluffed and body curved protectively around her hatchlings. The male, if that's what he is, remains beside her, a silent sentinel, his eyes sharp, his presence steady. Together they form a barrier of warmth and safety, their breath mingling in the soft air. Around them, the communal mothers tend to their own fragile miracles. Low voices crooning feathers, shifting wings, spreading just enough to offer shade and comfort. You realize the clearing is quieter now, not silent but filled with the soft, unhurried sounds of life beginning. The tiny chirps of hatchlings, the gentle rustle of feathers, the whisper of the breeze in the ferns, no longer a threat, but a lullaby. You feel the tension drain from the place, replaced by something softer, something almost tender. Historians still debate how long these ancient parents remained with their young, how much care they gave beyond the first moments of hatching. Some argue they left soon after their duty done. Others believe they lingered, guiding their young through the first perilous days. Watching this, you'd like to believe the latter. The way these creatures stay close and careful feels like more than mere instinct. It feels like devotion. The sun begins to sink again, casting long shadows across the clearing. The air cools slightly, but the nests remain warm, their heat guarded by the bodies of those who gave it. You watch as the hatchlings, stronger now, lift their heads and blink at the world, still damp, still unsteady, but alive. The mothers make soft sounds, guiding them, encouraging them to stand, to stretch tiny limbs, to take the first clumsy steps into this ancient landscape. And here's an odd fact to send you off with: some modern shorebirds lead their chicks on long walks within hours of hatching, teaching them the lay of the land. You wonder if in the fading light these mothers will do the same, lead their young through the ferns, down to the stream, out into the wider world. Historians still debate it, but tonight, watching this, you can almost see it. You stay until the last light fades, until the clearing becomes shadow and memory, until the nests are just dark shapes against the earth. And then, slowly, quietly, you rise and slip away, leaving them to their world of feather and warmth and the promise of survival. Now, as the shadows lengthen and the clearing disappears behind you, let's take a moment to let it all settle. You've witnessed something rare, something ancient, a glimpse of life at its most vulnerable and most determined. The storm has passed. The predators have retreated. The warmth of those nests has endured. The image softens in your mind's eye: a mother, a father, perhaps their hatchling safe beneath their feathers, the clearing wrapped in dusk's gentle hush. The world breathes easier, as do you. And so, with the quiet promise that life finds a way, you let the scene blur, let the details melt into the dark, and carry with you only the comfort of knowing that in the oldest of times, even in a land of tooth and claw, there was room for care.